Hello survivors and welcome to First Aid Spray, a Resident Evil podcast by fans for fans. This is episode 51 and in this edition we try again to beat our best as we look at the world of Resident Evil speedrunning. My name is Sai and joining me on the panel this week, if he'd only stop picking up everything that wasn't nailed down or on fire, he might make a decent speedrunner. It's Fire Button Steve Valance.
Hello everybody, I feel called out.
Keeper's Diary Bypasser, because reading soaks up valuable playtime. Duh, it's KDB, aka Kelsey.
That's the best one yet, by the way. Hello everyone.
He'll have Mr. X's hat dry cleaned and returned to him before Leon gets out of the sewers. One of our guests this week is MattRPD.
Hello everybody.
And not so much chased by Jack Baker as running laps around him. Our other guest is Peralt.
Hi! I wouldn't say running laps around him. He scares me.
It's good. All the hours in that game and he still scares you, so that's a good sign. Every episode of First Aid Spray is recorded live on our Discord server, so join now to hear the show early and unedited and to become part of our fantastic little community where we discuss life, the universe, and Resident Evil. You can find a link to the server as well as our social media profiles at our website, faspraypod.com. It's the support of our listeners that keeps First Aid Spray going, so why not check out our merchandise or our Patreon page. Tiers begin at just $1 a month. Head over to patreon.com/FASprayPod for a full list and a chance to create bonus First Aid Spray content. Okay, it's been a while, so we've got quite a lot of housekeeping to quickly rummage through. Currently, Patreon exclusive, we literally just dropped today the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City audio commentary, rebelling against the fact that there wasn't one on the home release or the digital release. Kelsey sat down with Stephen Sherwin and keen remembering folks, I guess, will know that Stephen Sherwin weren't on our review episode, so you'll get some fresh opinions out of those guys. And it is an audio commentary in the classic sense, so you will be able to sync it up when you watch the film and listen to these guys chat away about what they think of the film. So that is currently Mastermind exclusive. We don't have any plans right now to reset to the public. That may change sometime down the line, but for the time being, that is for Masterminds only. Coming to the public soon is a couple of episodes from our side shows. Now that's what I call Survivor for Remake 2, which is my choice of 10 songs from Resident Evil 2 Remake soundtrack. A soundtrack that I think is very underrated. Kelsey joined me on that one. That should be coming to the public soon, but if you're a patron, remember to check that out early whilst you've got the privilege. And you also have the privilege for a little bit longer for Sony's E3 Disaster, which is a memory card lane bonus show to sort of hold things over because we had some stuff going on sort of behind the scenes with real life. So Steve and Jordan sat down to record a bonus where they talked about Sony's most infamous E3 conference. It's different. It's a different sort of nostalgic look. It's back, yeah, as opposed to the usual stuff. It's really fun. In the meantime, yes, right. Yes, exactly, yeah. There you go. In the meantime, the most recent memory card lane to go public, most recent episode is Pokemon Snap, which compared to previous episodes is a game I think that most people will have played. So join the memory card lane crew as they look back at 90s Pokemania and Pokemon Snap in general. It's been so long since we did a regular episode of the show that we released a bonus episode which has now gone public in the meantime, so you can hear us discuss The Thing, both the 1982 and the 2011 films. That's out on your podcast feed if you missed it. Might be one of our most unexpectedly good episodes ever. I wouldn't call it underrated, that's not quite right, it's only just come out, but I think that episode's going to surprise you with its quality. Over on YouTube, we have 5 more things that we'd like to see in RE-verse, which was written by Choji Akamichi from the server, so thank you again to him for that. It's now been a year since RE-verse was in public beta, so we celebrated with a little bit of, yeah, with that kind of vibe. And also, we dropped quite a few weeks ago now the latest episode of Tear Death Experience, where Kelsey, Steve and I ranked every variation of the Hunter BOW. So if this housekeeping wasn't demonstration of how much content we put out, then I don't know what is. So that's all about in various places.
I'd forgotten about half of that. That's amazing.
I know, right? And if that's not quite enough, you can head over to the What Culture Gaming channel to check out a video that I wrote and did the voiceover for RE4 in my new position as well, which is Resident Evil centric, so I thought I would drop it in here. The link's probably in the description, because why not? Which is 8 Resident Evil characters that we'll never see again. It's a sad one, I know. But yes, that's plenty to keep you busy. In the meantime, let's jump into the Biohazard news.
Our first piece of news then. Resident Evil 4 VR Mercenaries mode is now available as a free update for the Oculus. Is it the Oculus Quest?
Yeah, question mark.
Question mark. The Facebook VR.
The Facebook
RE4.
one. Yeah, it is the Oculus, yeah. Obviously, we talked about this numerous times. Really unfortunate that none of us, as part of the main panel, have been able to experience it because we don't have the hardware. Also, firstly, I suppose I'll chuck it to our guests. Have either of you guys been able to play Resident Evil 4 VR yet? That's a no. Excellent.
No.
Sadly not.
But I think we've obviously all seen it, and we're all very happy with the way it looks. I'd like to think we're all certainly very impressed with it, and the fact that they've added Mercenaries as a free update's pretty cool. And more than that, there's actually some new stuff as well. We've got online leaderboards. There's a bunch of new challenges, and these new challenges, which I honestly I haven't actually watched them, just in case I get to play the game myself one day. But I do know they have some like unique rewards that we've never had in RE4 before, which includes a black and white sort of filter to make it look like an old school film, a big head mode because.
Is it a video game without one?
Right.
Really?
From that era, it should have had one anyway, really. And some new gun skins, some golden guns, which is nice. You know, I don't know if we need to say too much more. We all kind of want to play it. Even Steve, you get motion sickness. You'd be curious if it was possible.
Give it a whirl.
Yeah, exactly. This more incentive, right?
Hang a bucket under my neck, I'll be fine. Honestly, I'm really impressed that they managed to fix a 17-year-old issue, which is that now Leon's Mafia outfit and Ashley's armor show up in the cutscenes.
Oh, is it? Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Petty as it is, it always annoyed me when he had a costume change in and off script. Then again, my only bugbear with it, and I'm very genuinely not to undersell it, a free update. This is massive and impressive, and the challenges are amazing. They still haven't made Louise playable. Give me that.
That would be really cool. Yeah. Kelsey, any thoughts on the RE4 VR update, or just general smiles?
Yeah, I suppose VR is not really my thing, but it is amazing that they're still doing stuff with this game all this time later, and to know that it sounds like actually effort's gone into it as well. So yeah, that's just huge credit to them for that. So I'm sure I'll give it a whirl one day.
Right. I don't know how well it's done in terms of sales numbers or anything like that, but we'll find out, after some more time has passed, I expect. I know a lot of people bought the system just to play this classic game in VR, so I think it's done okay. So it's nice that they're giving something to that player base, which I don't know what that size is, but it's good that they're still supporting this game. Matt, any thoughts on RE4 VR in general?
Not a lot really. I've tried VR before with the RE7 PlayStation back in the day. Couldn't really get into it, to be fair. But
fair enough.
From what I've heard about the RE4 VR, it does look good, to be fair, and I've heard positive reviews, so that's all I can say really.
Yeah. Peralt, any interest in RE4 VR?
I mean, I would if it wouldn't make me violently ill. So
Yeah.
I'll say no to that one.
Wow, fair enough.
And our news, very busy and jam-packed this week, I'll have you agree, is that our last story, Resident Evil 7 Walkthrough the Fear, returns to Japan this spring.
Yeah, this is a surprise in many ways. So people may remember Walkthrough the Fear was announced in sort of autumn. I think it was October 2019 sort of time. I remember it being around Halloween, which in itself was kind of a surprise because it was a few years after RE7 came out, and it ran in Japan for a little while. It was a virtual reality sort of attraction thing that you could go to. You couldn't play it at home. You had to go to this thing that ran in a specific place for about a month and play it, where you get to wander around RE7. It was like a different VR experience. It wasn't like playing the version at home. It was like its whole unique thing. So it is surprising that they brought it back again, which, it's nice. It's good that they haven't just done it once and then put it in a warehouse or whatever. So yeah, they have brought it back. It's running. If you happen to be in Tokyo, Japan, you can go to Tokyo Dome City Attractions between April 29th and June 26th. So you got a couple of months. Tickets are about $21 US for your time to play through Walk Through the Fear, which I've always loved, shortened to WTF. Again, we got another VR story, so I imagine if I asked Peralt if you were interested in this, it's going to be much the same reaction. I have no idea, but it might make me vomit. And Steve, same thing, really.
Yeah, I'd love them to do an actual event at an Alton Towers or some other theme park where they just install a bloody Resident Evil escape room. I'd rather have that over a VR thing. And not to diminish the technology and all that, and advancement stuff, but I would rather have an escape room that's just there, and you can even have someone doing Daniel Fabron lines through a speaker. Just something stupid. I don't care. I would love that experience.
Has everyone heard of Secret Cinema? Where they do so in London they stage basically it's not an escape room, but it's like giant walkthrough experiences of movies, and they get actors in and stuff like that. They need to do a video game version of that because Resident Evil just kind of begs for that sort of thing, and that is the type of thing when I see this I think, yeah, it sounds like something that might be fun to do for 5 minutes, but yeah, a secret cinema but a secret video game is just kind of that's money left on the table as far as I'm concerned.
There's definitely... It's good to see them doing stuff like this again, obviously, now that we're hopefully on our way out from a few years of the world being closed down and stuff. And Resident Evil has had, quite a few of these kinds of events in Japan, and hopefully we'll see some of them come to other parts of the world. Knock on wood, I suppose. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that you get any of those things that you guys just sort of mused about, perhaps. For me, I find immediately what you were talking about just reminds me of those things where you walk down the corridor and people kind of go oogie boogie boogie and jump out at you and sort of shake you or whatever. Or I don't actually think that.
I'd take a haunted house RPD, not trying to be funny.
I would. I find those cheap and
cut out zombies.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds entertaining. I don't think when the people jump out at you, it's cheap, and also I'm a coward. But so I'm interested in the VR thing. I don't know about the haunted house stuff, but it's good to see them doing these kind of attractions again, and hopefully we'll get something over here in the UK. Matt, would you be interested in going to any events? Not the VR one specifically, but these kind of Resident Evil exclusive timed events things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
It's fun.
I think why not is just like the mantra for Resident Evil at this point. They're doing so many different things.
It's Resi themed, and there's possibilities to network with other people.
This is true.
Obviously, love the same kind of genre, same games. So yeah, I'd absolutely be up for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Peralt, what would your interest be in, say, an escape room or a secret cinema kind of thing over a VR thing?
Oh, hell yes. Sign me up.
We're all going together.
Right, it's a date. Cool. Well, that is indeed, even though it's been a while, that has pretty much been the scope of the news, unfortunately. We will launch into our main subject of this episode, which is the world of Resident Evil speedrunning. And now, reading the file Jack's Diary from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard in character as Jack Baker, Ben Soulstone, who you can find on Twitter at Ben_Soulstone.
October 2nd. Reports say a storm's coming. I had a lot of trouble cleaning up after the last one a few years back. I guess it's time to reinforce the windows and show up the roof. Maybe I'll get Lucas to help. October 9th. The water has finally receded. The house is alright, but the old house was badly damaged. Lucas is making a fuss about a huge ship that washed up in the bayou. If that's true, I better report it to the parish. I'll go check it out tomorrow.
Alright, it's episode 51. We're going to chill out after episode 50, the celebration of 50 episodes of the show with Resident Evil Remake, which is a rather important game. We thought we'd take a different tact, sort of look back at the community that we love so very much, and Kelsey came up with the wonderful idea of talking about specific parts of the community, in this case, speedrunners. So we are joined by Matt and Peralt, who have experience with speedrunning and streaming. You may well be aware of them, and if you're not, Again, hit up the description. The links are in there. Make sure you follow them, as you will get to know them over the course of these episodes and kind of what makes them tick. So basically, we are just going to talk about their history with speedrunning, our own experiences with it, and that kind of stuff. But the age-old favourite question of mine, let's go right back to the beginning, which is, how did you guys discover Resident Evil for the first time? What was that first experience for you? Matt, why don't we start with you? What was your first Resident Evil game?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first experiences was with Resident Evil 1, OG on the PlayStation 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I was only a child then. Like a lot of us here, wasn't sure. So I remember staying up really late with my dad. Whilst Mum was asleep in the bed, we was both sitting on the bed and we was playing on a small little TV that we had in the bedroom. And let's just say it's one of those experiences where the first time of playing, you don't know where you're going, you're lost, you're scared.
Sure.
And the graphics back then as well was pretty scary, wasn't they? They was really good, high quality. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of good memories, a lot of nostalgia. It's just a fantastic game, fantastic experience, and we spent many days trying to complete it.
Right.
That was my experience of RE1.
Yeah, it's a fairly common story where it's like, pre-internet, we had no idea where we were going, what we were doing. And you're right, even though it might look comical now, that zombie head turn at the beginning, we've heard from so many people that basically made them switch off the console the first time, so
absolutely. Yeah.
I would say, I think I'm officially on record as saying I still think the old hunters are scarier than the new ones, even in their pixelated glory, so they're still good. The graphics I still think here.
Peralt, what was your first introduction to Resident Evil? Which game was it for you?
It was RE2, actually. I was slightly late to the party compared to some people, but, I wasn't... How old was I? I was 10, I think, in 98, yeah. And I just remember getting to the RPD and going around that corner where the liquor is for the first time.
Right.
And, oh my God, I was so scared. Since then, I've just loved it. Been absolutely obsessed with it ever since. So,
yeah, and obviously it shows because a lot of people, like many of us, will play every game and all that kind of stuff. But it takes a certain kind of player to be like, I'm going to play this game over and over and over, which is obviously a big part of speedrunning and its sort of core concept. Peralt, but do you remember the first time you were made aware of speedrunning? Not specifically Resident Evil, but just video game speedrunning as an idea. Do you remember sort of any early inklings of that? And did it catch your interest as something that you'd want to do immediately, or did you have to warm up to it?
Well, actually, I first heard of it because of my other half.
Right.
We'll call him Mr. Peralt because that's what I call him to everyone. He was actually speedrunning RE3 OG and Metal Gear at the time.
Right.
Sorry, Metal Gear 2. And I didn't understand why he enjoyed it so much. I was like, oh, it's rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, a certain Mr. RPD raids me and we get to talking about RE2 and all that, and I thought I'm gonna try and speedrun, and that's how it all began.
That's amazing. I actually had no idea that Matt actually had that impact on you. It's great that we both have both of you in that case.
I didn't know. I didn't even know.
I told you that.
I know. I'm joking.
Cheeky.
Matt, what about you? Did you have any experience running anything before Resident Evil? Do you remember being made aware of speed running?
It was very much informal. I remember back on the PlayStation 3 days and Xbox 360, and you play a few games, a bit like Dead Rising back in the day, where there was actually a leaderboard ranking system.
Right.
So I knew of trying to compete with that ranking system, or there was a time when I bought Sonic 4 Episode 1, and I was trying to get to the top 5 on certain levels. So I didn't know anything about Resident Evil speedrunning back then, but I knew that there was something there, even though it is very informal now compared to what it is now. So yeah, that's when I knew about it in a way. But obviously now, we've got its own website, speedrun.com, extremely competitive in so many different categories, so many different games, to what it was back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, it's like gone from strength to strength over the last decade or so, as you say, with like huge streaming events now with Awesome Games Done Quick and Summer Games Done Quick and stuff like that. But yeah, it's funny that you mentioned, because I guess like in a weird way, playing Sonic is very like the early inkling of speedrunning for a lot of people. And obviously, like all of the panel here know Sonic very well. We all grew up with that. And I have that memory of like feeling, oh, I can get through the first few acts of Sonic 2 so fast that I've got like 3 or 4 continues, you know, before Zone 3 and stuff. I hadn't thought about that, but it is that kind of feeling of like, excellent, you know, I'm sort of, you feel cleverer than the game sort of thing, even though it's fully intended, Sonic especially, fully intended to be played as fast as possible. But there you go. In that case, how did you get started with running Resident Evil games, Matt? Where did you jump in?
Where do I start? So I took a step into Twitch in terms of live streaming at the back end of, was it 2019? And then at first when I started streaming, I was very much playing a bit of Sega Mega Drive classics, really. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was trying to find my foot in the door, so to speak. But it's only until one of my friends, Tom Payno, who's a Twitch streamer also and member of the Team RPD, he was doing Resident Evil speedruns, and I said to him, "What's this all about? What are you doing?" So then I started to delve in. I've always been a Resident Evil fan, a fanatic. I've grown up on all the games, played them all to death. So then I started to compete with him, and then I found out about the speedrun.com website, their leaderboards, and I thought, wow, this is huge. So then I've started to, like, you know, grind every day on, say, Resident Evil 2 Remake at the time. That was like the first Resi game that I started to speedrun. And then I started to, like, get up to top 30, top 20, top 10.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was my first experience in how I delved into RE2 based off somebody else doing it who I'm close friends with. So that's my experience. I'm not sure. Well, obviously, Peralt's obviously told you as already.
Yeah, a little bit. Although I guess the story leaves me curious in the sense that obviously you were saying your partner was running Resident Evil 3. Did you jump into the same game, or did you go, no, I'd rather play, say, Resident Evil 2, as you said it was like the one that started it off for you? Did you want to do something different on purpose?
Well, I actually, a bit like Matt, started out on RE2 Remake.
Right, okay.
Just because, you know, it was so big at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
It was, the routing wasn't difficult, and it seemed like a really good game to start out with. And then from there, I sort of branched out into other Resi games. I've done some 3OG, like Mr. P over there. I've done all sorts.
Cool.
And that's thanks to you, Matt.
So every time now she has a bad run, she's going to blame me. It's my fault.
That's unfortunately the way it goes. When you get one side of the coin, you get the other as well. Matt, I'm glad you mentioned Team RPD, actually, because I did want to mention that as well. Obviously, you guys are part of a big group of Resident Evil streamers. Do you want to talk about a little bit about Team RPD? Because a lot of Resident Evil groups on Twitter, like for us as example, obviously we have our own sort of I use the word business account, but that seems really, really formal. But you guys don't seem to have like that home base. I don't know how many of you guys there are. It seems like there's loads of you like in various different parts of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, very much what we are is a stream team. We haven't tried to make it more than what it is. There's 20 members,
right?
That want to help each other, support each other in the streaming world. Not everyone's a Resi speedrunner. Not everyone's a speedrunner. Everyone's just, I guess, a horror lover in a way. They love their kind of retro horror games.
That's cool.
And I think it's all about the common goal, isn't it? It's all about, sharing each other's support and for the good and the bad. And that's what we are. That's why it's only a team of 20. There's a lot of Twitch teams out there that have hundreds,
right?
But there's no communication amongst each other.
Yeah, I can believe that.
So we've got our own little niche, our little Discord, channels where we talk daily. How is everybody doing today? What are you up to? What streams you're doing today? What games you're playing? And we try and it's one of them as well where there's a few people in the team that are, want to grow on Twitch and get to partner level and so forth, and it's trying to support that and having the resources in place to allow it. So Yeah, there's many different factors, but we're all friends. We've met in real life now as well since meeting on Twitch. So we've grown together. But you say, going back to the initial question, it's not like something like what you guys do. It's, we very much the live streaming.
Yeah.
But we have a Twitter. We've done obviously
okay.
a charity event, which we can talk about shortly, I'm sure. Unless you want me to touch on it now. About
Yeah, no, why not? Go for it.
Yeah, so obviously Team RPD, a few members from that put together a charity event. When was it, Peralt? Was it 2020, the first one? Yeah, it would have been.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've done 2 events so far, where we've raised money. The last one we'd raised money for the Mental Health Foundation, and we raised $10,000.
Amazing.
Where we've done.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so we've done like 2 or 3 days of speed running, racing, head-to-heads, showcase of new mods that's coming out. A lot of collaboration with voice actors as well. So we've had like Steffi Panasillo from our Claire Redfield remake, Nick Apostolides remake, Leon. Casey O'Hagan, great. Nicole Tompkins, all of them really. We've had as many as we possibly can to come and commentate and host on some of these speedruns that we've had as well. So I'm not sure if any of you guys saw it here, but it's quite a spectacle, to be fair, that we've managed to put together on Twitch. And you say we've raised a lot of money for good causes. So that's also what we've done as a team to put all that together. So that was a good time.
That's cool. Yeah, I, over time I've seen bits and pieces more and more. I think when you guys played with, the original voice of Albert Wesker, that felt like a big moment as well, because it feels like, to me at least, that he's quite new to the Resident Evil community and sort of been reintroduced to the effect that he's had on people's lives and stuff like that. So that was really cool. I remember seeing lots of clips of that stream going around, and so that was a cool moment. But it's great because you speak about a lot of the things that, with Team RPD, we were just saying how trying to get your foot in the door on Twitch and stuff like that, it's really good to have a group like that where you can all support each other, because trying to break into Twitch, trying to break into video game streaming, whether it's speedrunning or not, but all of it's on the rise, not just speedrunning, all of that stuff all the time. There's more and more people that want to do it. So to have that group to support each other and then to go on and use that for good causes like you guys have done, just fantastic. That's the way it should be, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay. Whilst we're also, before we sort of move ahead, it's Peralt, you said about RE2 Remake being quite an easy game to root, and it was like a nice introduction for speedrunning. On our Discord server, we had a little bit of a competition between a certain member who also happens to be a certain member of a certain podcast alongside one of our guys. That's a really convoluted explanation. I'm talking about Luigi from the Two Carrots podcast and our very own KDB. So, Kelsey, you played Remake 2 a bunch as a speedrunner. What were your experiences like with that? Had you ever speedrun anything before?
So, yeah, I hadn't speedrun anything before RE2 Remake, and I was watching other streamers do it, and obviously it was lockdown, and I just got hooked into it. And then Lou and I, just because Lou is insanely competitive, we just kind of put a little, a friendly competition up with each other, and then started to take it more seriously. And it just became this ongoing thing where I don't want to say I became a speedrunner. I was a very amateur speedrunner. The first time I got on the speedrun boards, I was like, well, I guess I'm a speedrunner now. But, it takes a lot of dedication to really, really be good at these games. And for me, it was a friendly thing between friends, but it was just so addictive. And even though it was just me and Lou, there's hundreds of people running RE2 Remake, but I was just focused on me and Lou, and we'd go back and forth daily, sometimes beating each other's times twice in a day. And I completely get, why it's so popular, and, the effort that people go into replaying these games, because it is just so much fun. And I'm somebody who loves the game. I love the games, playing them in inverted commas properly as well. But speedrunning is different. And yeah, the challenge with Lou was so much fun. And it never really went anywhere. I suppose you could say he won, but I like to say I stopped playing. So, but yeah, it was a really good time. And I don't know. I think I would have I would have liked to really put more time into it, but I was just not really in a position where I could do that. But I love to just watch people, like Matt and Peralt and stuff, and so many other streamers and speedrunners, because it is just so addictive, which is like the main thing. The competition part about it is almost like a small thing.
Right.
And something I was going to say later was with the community as well. It doesn't feel competitive in a negative or toxic way. Everyone is so kind of encouraging of each other, and sharing strats and stuff like that. So that is another hugely positive thing that I enjoyed about it. But yeah, running Remake 2 was immensely fun, and it's really the only I ran like one other game. I did Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain, not the Phantom Pain, sorry. Ground Zeroes.
Yes.
That was the one I got really good at as well. I got to like number 10 in the world. But then, yeah, again, just dedication. It takes dedication, and all credit to those who can dedicate themselves to it, because it's really impressive.
You're right about the speedrunning community. I'm sure it exists out there, but I never see anything where it's like people going, "Ha, suck it, I beat you," that kind of thing.
No.
Which is nice, certainly, and also what you're saying about having someone to kind of play off of there, like any kind of incentive can drive you to that kind of thing where it's like, I'm going to try and beat my time, and if it's you and a friend trying to outdo each other's time, that's completely fine. I used to play RE2 Classic a bunch, quite famously, and now I almost sort of overplayed it, where it's like, I'll touch it every 6 months or something, maybe even a year. But I was in that state where it was like I was using the speedrunning strats just for my own enjoyment. You're right, it wasn't for the competitive nature for it. I wasn't ever looking to get on any board or anything. I just noticed that I was kind of getting better and better at it and trying new things and enjoying it that way. Steve, you got a very different play style, as I kind of alluded to, that may or may not transfer to speedrunning. But how do what are your experiences with that kind of play style, whether doing it yourself or just kind of watching other people? What do you make of it?
Okay, I know I get a reputation of like being a magpie who grabs every ammo pack and bullet down.
I just want to point out.
I
just want to point out that Steven, no matter how many times I've played through RE2, and Sherwin as well, who made the board game, so he must have played through it plenty of times. Steve pointed out an ammo pack that neither of us had ever seen before. Magpie indeed. Sorry, go on.
But when the chips are down, or at least when there's like loot on the line, so there's an infinite rocket launcher that you're probably never going to use, that you can unlock. I'll still go for it. I can't hone my senses. I don't think I'm nowhere near like Peralt or Matt's level. Don't get me wrong, but I can get like under the par time to unlock stuff if I need to.
Right, of course.
Excluding Code Veronica, like that one's still the Albatross or whatever the thing you're looking for. So I just don't know the right pathing, because that game's rather harsh.
Yeah.
With its criteria, but no, for me, while it's something that I haven't really thrown myself into properly, like except on stuff like maybe Super Metroid. On Resident Evil, it is a case of I'm more of a completionist. That's not to discount all this, because I realise like it's like fighting games where people come up with new techniques and new strategies and all these things, and everyone shares it. It just makes the community stronger. It's amazing to see.
Yeah.
But for me, it's more of a I'll go for the loot, but I'm not going to try and run that fast. But there is, like I said, the temptation, because I already want to get this Code Veronica rocket launcher. It's like my goal for the year is to finally be able to get this bloody thing. I think I may actually try and push on that one, because as we know, I have a complex history with that game, and it might make me learn to love it more.
Do you know what? I would be fully behind that unexpected surprise that Steve gets really good at Code Veronica. I'd love that. What face turn that would be.
Great game.
I mean, it is a great game. I completely agree. I agree.
Most underrated RE game there is.
Oh, here we go.
But let's get into that.
He said the line. Right. Okay, Kelsey, here's a question for you then. What do you think about Resident Evil lends itself to speedrunning so well?
Well, I mean, if you think about I've said it already, playing a Resident Evil game properly is so completely the opposite of what you do in a speedrun. It's the game is not necessarily you might have a countdown timer at the end, but the game is not really a race. And you play them to be you're supposed to be careful. You're supposed to look around a corner and maybe backtrack and survival horror. You need to survive, and generally that doesn't mean just darting straight through a hallway of zombies. So to take a game that feels, especially the originals, that feels so naturally the opposite of what speedrunning is, makes it all the more impressive. And obviously it's a horror game as well, which, again, to just see people navigate these mazes and these enemies, these horrific enemies, so well that they barely have to fire a shot. It's just, it's really something to behold. And I love watching loads of different kinds of speedruns. I love the Sonic ones we've mentioned as well, and I love some Metal Gear ones as well. But I always get the most enjoyment out of the RE ones, and I think it's something about a horror game where you're supposed to be taking your time. No, don't run in there, you're going to die, and then people don't, and it's really cool to see. So it's obviously a challenge, and maybe it's something about that makes it attractive for speedrunners. But as I say, I'm not a professional speedrunner. I don't know what the guys think.
Yeah,
I think it's.
Oh, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
It's perception, isn't it, of a speedrun as well sometimes. Like, people see Resident Evil and they'll probably say, oh, you can speedrun that, because it's quite slow, isn't it, compared to something like, say, Sonic, which is a speedy game. People think, oh, you can speedrun Sonic, it's a speedrun game. But Resi, sometimes people, probably historically, probably not as much now, people think, oh, that's not a speedrun game, because it doesn't come across something like, as I say, Sonic. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, really. That's
a fair point.
Kind of perception, yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe it was kind of like, I don't know if challenge is the right word, but just sort of thinking out of the box about what you can play and what you can make with that kind of tools that Resident Evil gives you. So it's a fair point. Peralt, what do you make of it? What about Resident Evil seems to have speedrunners flocking to it, do you think?
Oh, that is a very good question. Well, I mean, for me personally, it's very much like what's already been said. The challenge of it, and the horror aspect. Because when we were kids, we would take hours and hours and hours to complete them. And I've had this conversation with people at work, actually. When they found out I speedrun, they were like, oh, I took like 8 to 10 hours to complete this game. How long does it take you to do it? And when I say, under an hour, they look at me like I've got 2 heads. And yeah, it's just, I think it's the fact that you repeating the game and learning it inside and out is what a lot of speedrunners like. Because you have to know it inside and out to be able to learn the routing, what you have to pick up, what you don't have to pick up, skips as well. But the less I talk about skips, the better. Yeah, that's it.
No, like you're definitely saying things that I completely agree with in terms of it's when you finish Resident Evil, like let's say you've played a game for the first time. And something that Resident Evil does, and not a whole lot of games do, is give you that time at the end. Even back in '96, it was I feel like that's such a unique thing for a game to do. We talked about this on Memory Card Lane sort of a little bit in the Jumping Flash episode. So that's kind of what made me think about it, was back in the day when it was high scores and stuff like that, and you compare that with your friends or you try and outdo your high scores. And I think it was Sherwin who said on that episode, you're getting 2 name drops in this, that it's Resident Evil kind of took that and made its own thing, where it's like now it's about time. And you see that when you play a Resident Evil game for the first time and you go, oh, that was how quickly I did it. Number of saves, this kind of thing, and you look at what's in your inventory and you're like, woo, barely made it. I've got 2 shotgun shells left and 1 green herb, or 1 red herb, which does nothing, And then you play it again, you're like, oh, I was a little bit quicker and I found more ammo and I, felt more capable in sort of taking out enemies. And then you just get better and better like that. So as you say, like the routing and learning about what to pick up, that's a whole other ball game. Rather famously, when we turned, was it our 2nd anniversary? We played Resident Evil 2, Steve and I, back to back. And I think there was doubts that I was going to have quite enough ammo when I needed it to get through. And it was a little bit of luck, because it had been a while since I'd run through it. But I was as opposed to Steve, very minimal about picking up handgun ammo and stuff because it was kind of a waste of time. I was just looking for those grenade launcher rounds, and I knew I had an idea of what I needed. And that's the sort of thing that you kind of learn, where it's like, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, I need just about this sort of much stuff, and I don't need to waste any time kind of over-preparing for that. And now, reading the file, report about G from Resident Evil 2 Remake, Hans Orok, who you can find on Twitter at HansGroover.
The G virus clinical trial will be entering its final phase very soon. Before G, the new creature that will surpass humans, is born, allow me to predict a few things about its biology and biological functions. Intelligence. The subject's intelligence will begin to drop immediately, with their linguistic abilities disappearing within a matter of days. Finally, they will lose their capacity to reason and their humanity. G will be a creature of pure instinct, driven only by a need to survive and reproduce. Physical abilities. Due to its unusually accelerated cell division, evolution, it will be highly adaptable to any environment. Furthermore, with its amazing ability to repair itself through regeneration, it will be extremely difficult to completely kill it with any conventional small firepower. Reproductive behavior. G's most remarkable feature will be its intense desire to reproduce. It will instinctively search out humans with DNA that closest matches its own and implant an embryo in them. But the chances of success are very low, and if the DNA is not a close enough of a match, an underdeveloped G creature will be produced instead. I suppose the only ones who might be a close enough of a match would be any biological children of the subject, though...
Staying with sort of making Resident Evil, what makes it good as a speedrunner, but more specifically, what do you think makes it different to running other games that are speedrunnable? Anything come to mind?
Well, yeah, obviously I may not be good at doing the process myself, but I do enjoy watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And in Resident Evil's case, I know there's lots of there's little glitches and skips here and there, more in the newer games than the older ones, I want to say. But generally, it's a lot more controlled. You look at something like not Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, where people can jump at a certain axis or bounce on this bit and go through this door this one way, and all of a sudden they're at the end. There's nothing like that in the Resi games for the most part, and it becomes a bit more of almost like choreographed performances. When someone's going on, when they're on the A game, going for the PB and seeing Jill or Chris or whoever dodging and weaving through these things at a pace no average slug like me could do. It's really impressive, really inspiring to Steve. You could just dodge through these things. You don't have to pick up every single packet of bullets ever known to man just to shoot them. That you're never going in this room again. And yeah, I think it lends itself to that because there's a bit of game structure that's keeping it from being exploited quite as much. People actually have to. I don't know what's the term. I know there's various terms like any percentage and whatnot. Right. Resi's one that leans itself more into being a as developer intended kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
I know that's not...
The word pure comes to mind, which seems maybe a little bit too much, but it is you are playing the game as intended. You're right.
Yeah, there's less exploitation of systems in Resident Evil's case, but there's still a timer, and there's normally, even for conventional players, like I said, there's a reward, which is good. But obviously, with leaderboards, especially in the advent of RE4 onwards, and hopefully the newer games, with the RENet and stuff, you can track how long you've been and how long you've played. I suppose even back in the old days, if you noted it down, you could have put a photo on a website or whatever and discussed it then. But we live in the modern age now. We don't have 486s anymore, Steve.
It's funny you say that because it just shook free a memory. I remember, old video game magazines where people would send in, their best times and stuff. They'd send VHS cassettes in for the people behind the magazine to watch and verify, because you'd get little competitions like that where score and time based and stuff. So
I'm now just remembering photos in magazines of people with their thumbs up in front of their big CRT TV and stuff like that. That is definitely something.
Terrible exposure and
I'm right in Matt and Peralt. You do you moderate some speedrunning boards, or am I going crazy?
Yes.
I do. So there's a process to it, isn't there? If someone submits a run, they have to submit a video in a certain way or prove that it's basically not been faked or glitched or whatever, or against the rules of the contest. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So go on.
They're the same kind of thing as these VHS tapes. Then, or is that going crazy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't get VHS submissions now, but the principles there, yeah.
The race.
Oh shit! It's a Betamax tape. What the f am I doing with this? Right, no, I get you.
You've thrown me really off guard now.
Oh no, I'm just wondering. I'm wondering. Do you get a lot of cheaters and stuff violating the rules? Then
we do get that. That can happen, and it's happened for Resident Evil games, and I'm sure it's happened for a lot of different games out there as well on speedrun.com. People try and tamper with in terms of like macros and utilization of that, and loads of different ways, like with the FPS. Like that's why with PC submissions, say for Resident Evil 2 Remake, you have to have your frames per second showing on the screen, because I don't know if you know this,
the
but
knife,
you know about the knife. So obviously, the higher the FPS, the more damage the knife does. But that's what's good about the speedrun website, is obviously the moderators get to decide on the rules, and it's shared, and then it's discussed, and then it's voted upon. And
that's cool.
Yeah, there's a quite a large process, and then obviously us as mods, when a submission comes through, we know what to look out for, what we can approve and what we can't approve. So, yeah.
I think that's good, to have those. It's almost like rules make everything fun, but like, but you're right, because with so many games, maybe less so with Resident Evil, but that's a great example with the FPS sort of knife trick. But we're just talking about how Resident Evil is sort of like a quote-unquote sort of more pure run a lot of the time. Yeah. But as Steve said, you've got lots of games where it's all these different categories, so they all need to have their own sort of rules, where you can or can't, get a specific frame and glitch through a door and stuff like that. So it's important to have that stuff.
It's interesting, you see, because with the Resident Evil, I mean, you are right. The popular categories are the pure categories, but there is categories that are out of bounds, and there's glitched categories as well that do exist. But it's odd, you see. But then there's other speedrun games, like I've been like speedrunning a bit of Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, where the most popular category is the glitch category. So it's like, it's just odd how, Resident Evil, even though you can glitch on quite a few games, it's not as popular as the pure, as you mentioned. So it's an interesting viewpoint, really.
I want to just throw in one last thing before I go, because I realise I might have been a bit dismissive of people who jump on this one axis twice and then get to the end of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean they're not like amazingly skilled. Or
absolutely.
Something like that is like awe-inspiring. I just thought I'd mention that because I know I realise I probably sound a bit of a
but no, you're right, because who amongst us hasn't seen like a video game news story go by that's like, some player has finished X game in 3 minutes, and you're like, no way, I have to watch that. It's only 3 minutes. It's not going to take much of my day up. I have to see this happen.
But there's the whole Elden Ring stuff. From lately, isn't there?
Yes.
That was mental.
We might as well. I'm not really aware of it because I haven't been playing the game. What's going on with this? Is people found out crazy glitches, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's incredibly broken.
Okay, so it's a modern AAA game. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
From perspective side, the average playthrough of Elden Ring could potentially run you anywhere between 50 and 200 hours.
Goodness me.
And there are people beating it under 7 minutes.
Awesome.
But as you rightly pointed out, Steve, like those inputs that he has to do is kind of like frame perfect inputs. Like they are not easy to do. Like it's not like me picking up there and trying to replicate what he's just done. That takes a lot of bloody time.
Training and
you've got to really learn it.
Yeah.
Ironic, really, that speedrunning with those kinds of speedruns take a lot of time just to figure out how to do it and practice it so you can do it every time, or close to every time.
It's that blows my mind quite a lot, because obviously when new strats come up, sometimes I think, how did someone find this? And you got to think, when there's people out there playing it over and over again, it's just pure happy accidents sometimes. Like, wow, did you know you could do this? And then suddenly 15 minutes is shaved off of everyone's runs. And that always blows my mind, because it feels like, I don't know if something come up with Resident Evil 3, the original recently, but it feels like even games from 10, 15 years ago, people still find new stuff today. And that's just what happens when people are playing it. There's an accident, and it's like, whether it's a glitch or not, or just some kind of new strat that suddenly just blows the races apart again.
that shared community knowledge, building on each other, is one of the most amazing parts of speedrunning for me. The way that people come up with like a new technique, and then all of a sudden everyone goes into their fighting game practice mode lab room for Steve's brain. It's like, and then study it and replicate it.
Yeah, there was a girl recently, I think it was last year now, where she found like a major skip in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Yes. Going up the stairs. Yeah.
First time playthrough, and somehow she got through this door, and then it kind of just changed the whole spectrum of the Metal Gear speedrunning community. And they named the skip after her. And I think she become quite popular off it as well.
That's really
cool.
It's obviously a big game, but, it's a classic. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it goes to show, because obviously that game, just like Resident Evil, is very old at this point, and even obscure stuff.
Sorry, what did you say, Sonny?
Metal Gear.
KDB, you were saying that you were running Peace Walker, which is a PSP game, right?
No. I was doing so Ground Zero.
Sorry,
the prequel game to the Phantom Pain, which is like, it's like a package of like 8 mini missions,
right?
And and I was running Metal Gear, and obviously that's it's fairly old. The reason I was running it, I talked about dedication to speed running. I loved running RE2, but I knew that I needed, like, even if I just wanted to attempt one run, I needed like an hour free. I needed at least an hour. But with Ground Zeroes, the speed run was like 3 minutes. Which, again, doesn't sound like much, but it's an intense 3 minutes. But I knew that in an hour I could get, 30 tries in or something like that. So that's why I was running it. But, yeah, so it wasn't Peace Walker. It wasn't on the PSP. But, yeah.
My eventual point still kind of stands that Ground Zero is being kind of like it's not, I wouldn't call it a demo, but it's like not the full game, is it? It's like, as you say, the prequel thing. The fact that you and I assume other people are still sort of running that, trying to outdo each other's times, is ridiculous. That of all games.
There's a Metal Gear speedrunning Discord, which I'm not on as much now, but the messages are always popping up on there, and people are still trying to smash that time now, like every day.
That's crazy.
Else, I know this is more of a wide speedrun question, but how much RNG plays into that? Because I know that obviously factors into many games. Because that feels like a scripted experience.
Yeah, it's mostly scripted. I'm glad you brought up RNG, because this is going to be a big topic for RE2. But there is some, and it feels like, and I'm sure Matt and Peralt can kind of say this, it sometimes feels like, I swear, when you do these speedruns, the game knows what you're trying to
do. Oh, yes.
And it trolls you. The game knows. It's like, hang on. And people joke, but this thing came out about Animal Crossing last year that was like coded into it. If you played it in a certain way where you were trying to cheat, the villagers behaved differently or something. You can't tell me that some of the developers out there aren't, we know about difficulty adjustment and stuff like that. Yeah. That they're not putting things in these games. They go, oh, trying to do a speed run, are you? Well, have some of that, and it just kind of screws you up. So there is definitely some RNG in Ground Zeroes, yes, and there's lots in RE2.
Yeah. Where do you start? It's just one of those where some games have it, some games don't. For example, RE1 OG, there's very little RNG.
Right.
I mean, apart from the dogs, really, because obviously sometimes it can be in different positions when you go through the door. But other than that, in terms of zombie standpoints, are all in familiar same placements. But there's other games which I'll probably touch on with RE7. I'm sure there's quite a few RNG bits on that. But yeah, RE2 Remake is quite renowned for its RNG. But RE3 OG is probably the worst one.
Yeah. Yeah. Not even just for speedrunning, just for playing in general.
It's very clever how they did that. Like you haven't really seen that since.
Yeah.
With like the computer passcode can be either 3 or 4. It's really interesting. And that's what makes it a really popular speedrun as well.
Yeah.
It's because it's got that kind of replayability.
Yeah.
As like you're hoping that you get some good RNG, which then can get you a PB in turn. So.
And it's so exciting when you get the really good RNG on it as well, like a one-change music box. Yeah, I remember getting that and being like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, no, you're so right. Like RE3 is just stuffed with stuff like that. You hear all the time that players who don't know about the fact that drain demos can have eggs that hatch when you enter certain rooms sometimes, so they can be baby drain demos, and because it's so infrequent that a lot of players have never encountered it. And even I think it was like last year or the year before, people figured out that you can, I think, was it take out Nemesis with like a falling like light, like a lamppost or something, and all there's loads of stuff in this game that people keep finding. So I'm not surprised that little RNG things like that can make running a game like that just so much more interesting. The only game that I ever ran was RE2, which Matt, as you were saying about RE1, is very similar in that zombies are pretty much always in the same place. There isn't any puzzles that change or anything like that. So it all depends on what you're looking for, really. If you want a game where you know what to expect every time and you just want to get better and better and better and better at it, then there's games out there like that. Or there's games like RE3 and RE7, which offer a lot more sort of unexpected variety to that experience, which I can totally see the appeal of as well. Peralt, what your experience has been with RE7's RNG? Because I've also heard that it's interesting.
It's mainly the boss battles.
Yeah.
For sure, especially Jack 3. We're not going to talk about Jack 3 because he is, in the words of Matt, the devil. It is RNG hell, that fight, but same with Marge as well, like Spider Marge. You can't pin them down very easily, and it's just a pain. But saying that, the rest of the game, there's very little. And you can actually, I don't know how many of you know this, but you can actually sort of play around and get the RNG to work for you with like pickups and stuff in 7. So if you're carrying a certain number of first aid sprays or a certain amount of ammunition, you can pick up like what you need. You can make the game give you what you need to do. Yeah. Which is quite fun. I think you can do it in Village as well, actually.
I expect so. Yeah, it's all based on the same kind of concept, isn't it? And like, I mean, RNG exists because it's all just a bunch of math that's balancing each other out. At the end of the day, whether it's RNG in terms of the number of items that you were just talking about, or just RNG that you don't see going on behind the scenes, like, you know, Super Mario World, if you bounce on this turtle the right amount of times at the right speed, you know, you get transported to the credits and stuff like that. That is, that's technically RNG related as well. It's interesting.
I think the interesting thing about we touched on earlier about the Resident Evil games, like, and the replayability of it. It's like for speedrun, like each game, you need kind of different skill sets. I find as well. Like for RE1 OG, there might not be much RNG, but the precision, the accuracy, the inputs have to be on point. Like, if you want these top times, everything has to be perfect. You know, and most of that game, you probably want to get hit once if you want a perfect run, and that's at the start. And that hit is intended hit as well. So think of that. So you got to do 40 minutes, which, you know, obviously, I think mine's like 58, so 38, 52, which is a really good time, I think, but still better than mine. People out there, some beast out there.
Ridiculous. Blows my mind.
Yeah, like it just shows. But like RV1, it's all about input and accuracy, and everything else just comes along with it. And then, as you say, with RE2, it depends as well. Some people play on keyboard, some people play on controller. So it's like so many different preferences as well. It's whatever you're best with as well. Like me, even though I've grown up playing the classics on controller, I play the classics on keyboard now. I even emulate Code Veronica to play on keyboard because I just feel quicker with my inputs and accurate compared to using a controller, especially with my lines when you're running as well. It's like, you know, it's smooth, but I'm sure Peralt plays on controller. But anyway, sorry, I'll take it.
Yep.
I went off topic then. My apologies. It tends to happen a lot.
I mean, I guess it's just easier to drift with an analog stick, isn't it? That's what I assume. Yeah.
I was going to say, these key bindings and stuff, do you have like custom ones built for your like technique, or is it like just the default or anything like that?
I wouldn't say it's built. I mean, yeah, there's an application that you go into prior, like the config menu before you go into like RE1 PC, and then you just set it up. It's like 2-second job really, just ASDW, that is like your moving left or right, and then you've got your JKLI, which is like K's for your menu, and yeah, that's all you need. There's literally 8 keys.
8 keys.
8 keys.
It's so mad.
So yeah, that's what makes.
That's awesome. That is. I love it. It's like I've got. I know you said it's not like a custom built thing, but it's like I have my own particular set of skills and my particular set of tools to do the job. It's like very awesome.
It's actually it's funny. You mentioned something. You said Spider Marge. I think we'd be remiss not to mention
Spider Marge.
Yeah, the wonderful little gem that speedrunning community gives us more than perhaps any other part of the gaming communities is like silly little nicknames and stuff like that. I know Steve was very passionate about asking speedrunners to basically get a list of all the different zombies that have got nicknames.
Yeah.
Steve, do you want to just explain what that means to people that might not be aware?
Like KDB's rival Luigi. We were talking about like RE1 at one point, and the zombie in the basement apparently is called Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out like how many other these zombies have been given names by speedrunners because they're all silly and fun. And, like,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Like, obviously, at the time, like I'm in the kitchen. He's a chef. Gordon Ramsay. Right. I'm wondering how many other like daft ones like that exist because that's amazing.
Yeah, there's quite a few, isn't it, for RE1? I think most zombies that could potentially cause you problems are named, like Rocky,
Batman and Robin.
You got the jewel, haven't you? The blue jewel.
Yeah.
The eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Jesus Christ.
That's perfect.
What else is that? There's quite a few for RE1.
What was Batman and Robin? Is that?
I don't know what that is.
No, that's in remake.
Oh, I was gonna say.
the two in the lab at the top of the stairs.
Yeah. See, we need to make like a big like dictionary or encyclopedia of these things. This needs to be a chronicle.
I'm terrible for it. I mean, there's other people, a lot of speedrunners know the names of these zombies. I just name them anything. Like
Barry Snorbit.
Whatever, Frank.
Yeah.
You know, I don't give a whatever I'm feeling, whatever comes to my brain.
You're
crazy brain of mine. I'll just say, get out of the way, you. Anyway.
Yeah, you're very much speaking the language of our own Moist Owlet and his love of nicknaming zombie types.
Yeah.
Is it Carol? Carol the naked zombie, Steve?
Angela.
Angela.
Because they all scream or something. I can't. It's been a while.
That's very much.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
I think when you're just playing these games over and over as well, you're going to do things like that. You
entertain yourself.
So enamoured. Yeah.
You've seen old friends, isn't it? Seen old friends give them names.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, look, there she is again.
That's the reason I call all the liquors Jerry.
Because why wouldn't you, basically?
Well, exactly.
We've kind of been, over lots of speedrunning, but then obviously you both, Matt and Peralt, you do this stuff live streaming, which for me, so when I was doing my challenge with Lou, doing it live on Twitch was always a handicap for me. Like, we got our best times, like we would record our runs offline. And for me, the fact that you both do these incredible runs, but then you're also, having a chat with a few people that are just, sending messages and stuff like that. What's that like? Do you not think this would be so much easier if I would have smashed my time if I didn't have to talk to people on Twitch? And I don't mean that to try and call out Twitch viewers, because it's amazing, but it's just, what's it like doing it offline compared to doing it online on Twitch?
Do you want to go first, Peralt, or shall I?
Oh, and I've only ever really known doing it on Twitch. I don't really tend to practice it off stream. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you can be put off at times, especially if people start spamming your little sound bites and that. But oh yeah, that's not fun. But no, it's all I've ever known. Doing it live. I don't practice offline very often unless I've got an event or something that I'm doing, and then in which case it's just practice. Really, I'm not doing it to be competitive or anything.
Yeah.
I have to agree with Peralt. I used to do more kind of offline speed runs to try and get some submissions to the leaderboards, but I don't really have as much time as I used to do it. So it's got to be done online, got to be live streamed. But you are right. I do believe that I could do a lot better offline, because you are kind of talking to everyone that comes in, and there's a lot of speedrunners out there who stream live who probably don't interact as much, especially if they're going for like competitive times, which you can understand and appreciate, because a lot of concentration has to go into a couple of these runs. And even me and Peralt will go quiet at times if we are on a PB pace.
Right.
I was just going to say, you'll have streamers say, you might say, guys, I might not respond for a minute because I need to concentrate. But I love, as a viewer, it's amazing to watch. It's so mad to think being in that position to be so focused, and then if you slightly, just side eye and have a look at the chat, and shit, I fucked up. Sorry.
But for me, like, I know Peralt's more competitive speedrunning than I tend to do more like the casual marathons, and I probably do like one competitive speedrun a week, if that, nowadays, because obviously I stream full time, and I try and offer an entertaining experience with the odd occasional speedrun. And sometimes you might do a competitive speedrun, but it might not be as entertaining. So it's kind of like that balance. You've got to try and find the balance. So yeah, sorry, like Peralt.
That makes sense.
Into that, but I know Peralt does a lot more RE7 speedruns.
Yeah, not as much as I used to. But that's just because, like with yourself, Matt, time and everything else that is going on in your life and all that side of things. But yeah, I don't really do much in the way of casual speedruns like you do.
Yeah.
Casual speedrun seems a bit like an oxymoron, but I know I know what you mean though.
I wouldn't just do a casual speedrun of one game. Like obviously I'll do just a random marathon of games in a stream.
Yeah.
I like you'll have RE1 to 5 or something, or Silent Hills included, Dino Crisis, stuff like that. Just to give a bit more diversity really with the stream content. But yeah.
It's like you're talking about like people doing these really intense, like perfect frame inputs and stuff. Like it's like equivalent to like a concert pianist also answering questions from the gallery at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's such a mad thought.
It is crazy that people can put out best times while also being, how's your cat? Oh, nice.
It's impressive.
And stuff like that. Yeah, or inspiring. And that like when like you were saying, when someone's like in focus mode, and then there's like that collective sigh of relief, and they've just got a personal best or something like that. And it's gone from focus to absolute euphoria. Is always something fun to watch as well.
Yeah, that's a good element of speedrunning, but a lot of time it's just it takes quite a while to get to something like that. But you are right. But there is a lot of people that want to see that. That they're happy to see you grind all day on a speedrun, to see you excel and get that PB or world record. If it's very rare. I've had a world record for a while now, but when it happens, it's great. But yeah, absolutely.
All right, okay. So favorite games to run, favorite Resident Evil games to run. I think you guys have kind of already touched them on a little bit. Peralt, what's your favorite RE game to speedrun? And why? And why?
Oh my god! Well, RE7 is my main one, and it's just something about it that keeps bringing me back. I really like the story. I like the characters. I don't like the unskippable cutscenes.
Right. Fingers crossed for the new version that comes out then, the upgrade.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, that's the one that sort of stuck with me more as a speedrun than any of the previous ones. I can't really put a finger on it really as to why. It's just one of those things, really.
Matt, I see you playing a lot of Remake 2. Is that your favourite Resi game to run?
I play them all, dude. I do them all. I couldn't. It's hard. It's a hard thing to tell you because it depends how you feel. A lot of time, I'll go with what I would probably play offline, because there's like a lot of speedruns you can do, which requires more attention, especially if you're using like the, say for example, RE1 Remake with door skips is a phenomenal speedrun, but it's so hard and intense. So I would either do that offline or RE1 OG. I mean, you get a break, which is good at times. With this, obviously you can't skip the cinematics, but RE1 Classic is a good speedrun as well, and it's short. 38, 39 minutes, you're done. But it depends how you feel. There's so many good games out there. Code Veronica sometimes could be a good speedrun game. RE2 Remake, or starting on RE2 Remake. There's so many. RE2 OG. But if I've got to give you an answer, sorry, I'm going around the thing here. I'll go with RE1 OG, because I've got a really competitive time in it as well.
It's my favourite because I'm good at it.
I mean, I'm good at RE1 Remake, don't get me wrong, but just stick with the classic. It's the first one as well.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, I know what you mean about the cinematics is sometimes kind of a nice when you're speedrunning, because there's always the moment in RE, because I would always do Claire A just constantly. So whenever you get to the sort of area where you've entered Iron's dungeon, that's where sort of like the longest cutscene sort of is. That's my point to go get a drink, which is about the halfway point of the game, sort of, you know. So I always, in a way, I appreciate that it's unskippable because it gives me a chance to quickly go and run and have a wee or something, you know.
It can be the worst as well, RE1 camp, especially when you get through the West Casino, you're waiting, and you got to fight the tire, and you're like, oh god, and you're on this pace. It's like, oh man, this is good time. You're like 5 seconds ahead.
Oh yeah, with the clock on the screen and everything.
Well, you can't do anything for like 3 minutes. So you're like, oh, your fingers are like proper, like going off the keyboard. It's like, oh, just hurry up.
You may have given your answer already then, because my next question was going to be the most difficult game to run, and you guys mentioned Remake. Is that the most? Do you think that's the most difficult in terms? I mean, you said it's intense. Is it the most difficult?
I can't say. It depends probably what your most competitive are, to which you're trying to beat, which would probably be your most difficult. What is the most difficult speedrun game for me? RE1 Remake can be pretty rough. Like getting out of Mansion 1. Like you could have a stream, like 4 or 5 hours where you can't even get past outside the first mansion to get into the.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough. I think RE2 Remake's not as bad really. Like I'd go with RE1 Remake. Let's stick to it. Yeah.
Peralt, do you agree with that? Is that the most difficult RE game you've tried to run?
I do. It's the dodges that get me. I can't do them, and it just winds me up, and I've got no patience for it. So
fair, that's fair. I've never tried it. I'll be honest. It's the only other game I've thought about, and you've turned me off from it completely. So, what? All right, then. Go on.
If I can do Code Veronica, come on.
Okay, we've danced around it a little bit. So the next question I wanted to ask was, what is the most heartbreaking speedrunning stories that you've experienced yourself personally, like getting so close to a personal best or something, and how it all went wrong? Matt, go ahead. What one immediately came to your mind?
Oh, dude. I actually, with speedrun, there's different categories as we touched earlier. So there's one called, I was doing RE2 Remake, and I used to do a lot of New Game Plus. So it's all about just using the rocket launcher. I know it doesn't sound as good as any %, but it's still, still hard to get the times that you get up.
Yeah.
But I got right. Do you know the zombie before the final fight on G4 with Claire? You know that zombie that staggers with the fire.
Yeah.
On 2 occasions, on one occasion, I was on console at the time, and I was on world record pace, and there was like 100+ people on the leaderboard, so it wasn't a joke of a level. It was a good one, competitive. And the zombie didn't go down off the rocket, mate. I shot that rocket, let me tell you, and nothing happened, and he grabbed me, because I thought...
I remember that.
with the explosion, you think, oh, he's gone. And he didn't. He was still there. So I lost the world record on that. And it actually happened twice to me, where the aim of it just went all over the place. And yeah, that zombie caused me havoc.
I'm going to say, I bet
at the end
every time you go down that corridor now, and like you start sweating, no matter what kind of run it is, looking at that zombie now must be horrible.
Yeah, there's so many stories. I mean, RE1 Remake with the bomb explosion where you miscount your steps. We've been on top tier pace, like top 10, and that you get blown up. You're like, oh my god. But
Peralt, what comes to mind when I say heartbreaking speedrunning story?
Oh, of course it's going to be on 7.
Yeah.
It's quite a intense game for my setup to run. I remember I'd gotten all the way to the boat with Mia, and my whole laptop just crashed. And I was on like minus 30 seconds on a pace for a really good PB. I was gutted.
Oh, killed by technology.
The evil other side of the coin, isn't it? You can watch these people getting ready for like the personal bests and stuff, but when you see something go horribly wrong, like you just want to reach out and hug them or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as I suppose enough time passes, we can all do what we've just done and sort of laugh about it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, unless anybody of my fabulous cohorts have any more questions, I've got one final one. Okay,
I don't think so.
Cool. All right, my final question then is quite simple. Is what advice would you give to any listeners out there that are contemplating, potentially giving speedrunning a go? Any would-be speedrunners that are out there, what would you say to them, Matt?
Obviously play the game that you're thinking about doing casually. Enjoy the game for what it is first, rather than just jumping into a speedrun. Like, for example, if it's Resident Evil, I can only assume that they've played it plenty of times, so they've
Right.
had all that casual enjoyment from it. But I think just try and enjoy it. Don't try and beat yourself up if it's not working out straight away. What I'd say is check out the leaderboards, check out top 10 or 20 to see what they can kind of do and what the strats are. Start to try and replicate what they do, and then make it your own whilst you go along. And just have fun with it. Collaborate with other speedrunners, ask them questions. As you said earlier in the chat, majority are very forthcoming with their information, and everyone's happy to beat each other's times. But it's competitive, but it's in a good way, a lot. And I just get involved. It's all about participating. It's not about being the best. Just participate and have fun with it.
Yeah, I think what you guys said about sort of like the positive aspects of the community and stuff really do speak for themselves. And I actually would echo that as well as someone who doesn't consider themselves a speedrunner but had a moment of messing around with it, actually. I never really spoke about where that came from, is that it was literally just watching a Let's Play that was really quick. And I was like, I can do that. So shout out to... it used to be Two Best Friends Play back in the day. That channel's not around anymore. But Angriest Pat and Matt McMuscles, when they played Resident Evil 2, and I was like, I'm going to watch this because it's my favourite game. And then I looked at it and went, yeah, I could probably do that or better. And that's kind of how it started for me. So yeah, play, as you said, play the game you love. Play the game that you love to play. And a game that you have some confidence in. And yeah, give it some time. Peralt, what's your advice to any would-be speedrunners?
I would say don't be afraid to reach out to us. If you've got any questions, then reach out. We're all more than happy to answer, to help, to give strats. We don't bite, I promise, unless you want us to. And yeah, watch the runs. Make sure it's a game that you're not going to be bored of. Get bored of easily and end up hating, because there's nothing worse than that. But yeah, mainly just reach out and we will all be happy to help. Awesome.
Well, nothing else remains for me but to thank our contributors, our Patreons and our listeners. Join the First Aid Spray Discord server to become part of our community and hear the show early and unedited. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok. All of these links and all of our content can be found at faspraypod.com. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes and all other good podcasting apps. And if you like what you hear, please do leave us a review where you can and spread the good word. Don't forget you can support the show by picking up some merch or at patreon.com/faspraypod for as little as $1 a month. On our next episode, we dust off our Wiimotes and PlayStation Move controllers as we head into another set of on-rails retreads with our retrospective review of Resident Evil: The Dark Side Chronicles. Thank you to the panel. You can follow all of us individually. I'm at Cyniac_123. Steve is at FB Steve Was Taken. Kelsey is at K_D_B_. Peralt is at Peralt Is Gaming, and Matt is at MattRPD. And finally, thank you for listening and have a good week.
Before I go, I just want to say, because obviously people know like Matt's streams or what he's like on his streams, but I didn't realise you were on TikTok, and I was scrolling through TikTok the other day, and the recommended video I got for Matt was him basically deep throating a Twinkie. I swear, and I was just like,
yeah, that sounds about
honestly,
right.
It's it TikTok. Me. I only do it there for some.
Hey, we're viral now, so I'm definitely not saying about it.
Honestly, I deleted all my videos, and now I'm trying to start my account back off. It's
well, I enjoy
obviously
it, so, there you go.
Yeah, you're doing the right thing.
You obviously enjoyed that Twinkie.
I did it, but one of my people who watch me brought to me, and I've said many times they're awful.
Twinkies, right?
Yeah,
I'm going now. Bye. Now I'm off.
Honestly,
wait, so is hate eating a Twinkie?
The most overrated American snack of all time has to be me. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
You can swear, that is good.
I'm not recording now, am I? I could be myself now.
I don't know what to say. I don't know. I'm beside
go watch
myself.
TikTok.
I need to go and buy some Twinkies now and apologise on your behalf.
Mate, just have a chocolate eclair and treat yourself. You know, if you can have something like that.
Don't waste your money.
Yeah.
Right, on that bombshell, I'm going now.
I think,
Guys,
do you know what? I think that's probably the outtake at the end of the episode, so thank you for that.
That's good.
Take care, everybody.